Fires in the left side of the end zone. That ball's going to be caught for the touchdown. Evan Ingram in the left corner of the end zone. Touchdown, Jacksonville. Looks, fires, deep downfield, got a man. That's Christian Kirk along the left sideline. Touchdown, Jacksonville. A 29-yard touchdown pass. Trevor looks, fires toward the corner of the end zone, and that ball is caught. Somehow caught. Evan Ingram went up. He out-jumped 3 defenders. He was not going to be denied. Evan was going to catch that thing. Touchdown, Jacksonville, a 14-yarder with 1:48 to play in the ball game.
1010XL 92.5 FM presents Jaguars Today with your hosts Mike Dempsey, Tony Smith, and Dylan Denmark.
All right, good morning, everybody. We have arrived. Free agency week, reshaping the roster of your Jacksonville Jaguars, at least in part this week. Good morning, everybody. I'm Mike Dempsey. Tony Smith is here, bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, Tony, ready to attack free agency and all the news that comes with it. In addition to that, Players Championship week, and still continuing our series of mock drafts later on in the week. How are you?
I'm doing well.
Yeah? How was your weekend?
It was fine.
Anything good?
Didn't do much. Yeah.
I told Dylan if he broke 100 yesterday that we'd keep his little Dylan cam up on the YouTube virtual studio.
Oh, no.
As you see, it's gone.
Yeah.
So I think I rubbed off on him yesterday. Dylan, did I give you toe-itis yesterday?
I don't know, man. I'll use any excuse. The time change,
Might have been that, right?
little sleep I had. I was out all day Saturday. Whatever.
Yeah,
Whatever
several of my golfing partners yesterday appear to have enjoyed themselves on Saturday night, but none of us enjoying ourselves too much yesterday. D-Rock did have a birdie, though, so that was
D-Rock had a couple good holes.
He had a couple of good holes, which is out of 18, a couple is probably not enough. But anyway, hope you all enjoyed your weekend. We avoided the raindrops for all but about 15 minutes. You're not going to do that today, so be careful out there. You keep your eyes on the road, keep your ears on 1010XL, and we'll keep you posted on any news that comes down, Tony. And not for the Jags, but a lot of news over the weekend around the National Football League. A lot of big-name players finding new teams via trade, free agency. When you're a veteran player and you've been in the league X amount of years and you get released like Devontae Adams was, you don't have to wait for the start of free agency. Yeah. And the Rams going the Devontae Adams route, Tone, as it didn't like the whole hookup with Aaron Rodgers thing didn't make a whole lot of sense this time around. Been there, done that couple of times, and who knows where Rodgers is going to wind up. And on top of that, who knows if they're going to have the space to fit you as well. I think, you go to a Rams team that was as good as anybody against Philadelphia in the postseason last year, and, replace Cooper Kupp. He's a different kind of receiver than Cooper Kupp, but I think the Rams feel like they've got, particularly in an NFC that's not super top-heavy, right? I guess outside of Detroit and Philadelphia, those are two pretty good teams. But it seems like there's so many good quarterbacks in the AFC. I think the Rams think they can make a run at it this year.
Sure, and we'll see where, all the dust is going to settle on a bunch of this. It's hard to even get to everything that happened, over the course of this weekend. It's just there's so much that went on. Pittsburgh obviously makes the deal to go get DK Metcalf.
Yep.
Are they in the Aaron Rodgers sweepstakes now? It's certainly the rumors are that they are.
Maybe. Are they also in the let's trade George Pickens sweepstakes, which is what the rumors are right now?
Like, it's just what a weekend. And I think there is the big takeaway from the weekend to me, watching all these teams take care of their own guys at the kind of rate that they were this weekend. It certainly feels like we've kind of thought this free agency class was just kind of right? Like the whole thing just felt like that kind of thing. And a bunch of the names that you thought might be interesting, they're done.
Right.
Like
well,
before
that
we
happens
even get
every
to it.
year, but there were fewer interesting names
You're right.
to
and
draw
so
from this time
now
around.
it was a thin group, and it's been thinned out over the course of the weekend. It's not, again, from the perspective of the Jaguars and the kind of needs that they have to fill at some point in this offseason, when those needs are, they got to figure out what they're going to do on the interior of their offensive line. And that's a difficult thing to figure out. Those are the kind of needs that you generally have to fill in the draft more than you do in free agency anyway. That's why those guys are never available in free agency. Teams don't let offensive linemen hit the market, right? That's Stanley getting redone up in Baltimore. He's not going to hit the market. It's the Chiefs. Trey Smith signed his franchise tender already. They're not letting a player of that caliber actually be a free agent. Not on the offensive line. That kind of stuff generally doesn't happen, but safety, corner, like some of the other big needs that the Jaguars have, that hasn't changed. Like nothing that happened over the course of this weekend affected the secondary and the needs the Jags are going to need to address in that direction, at least based on what got done. But my goodness, everyone holding on to their own guys, and the couple of trades that got made were big. I think it's Albert Breer had as part of his thing this morning that DK Metcalf was really, in his mind, circling Houston, but then they made the trade for Kirk.
Right.
And then it's like, oh, well, okay.
Well, I'd much rather them have Christian Kirk than DK Metcalf.
No doubt.
In the AFC South. So if nothing else, in addition to the 7th round pick, if that's true, that moved Houston off of the ability to allocate enough money to go get DK Metcalf, then fantastic for us. He was talking about a contender in a warm weather city. As somebody said, I saw reviewing this trade to Pittsburgh, did he get either one of those? I mean, Pittsburgh generally has a winning record, but are they really a contender when they don't even have a quarterback on there? They have Skylar Thompson is the only quarterback under any kind of contract with that team. So who the heck knows, how far they can go until you know who's going to be taking the snaps there. Just yesterday, Myles Garrett signed the biggest ever non-quarterback contract, getting $40 million a year from the Browns, but he was tired of losing. But I guess he can count his money
tired
now.
of losing, and Cleveland's not serious about winning. You got to get me out of here. I want to go to a Super Bowl contender.
You're willing to pay me how much?
Yeah. And then Cincinnati, which I don't know if there's any organization that makes me laugh when they say things like this and it blows up in their face more than Cincinnati, but saying we're going to make Jamar Chase the highest paid non-quarterback in the league. Well, that means $41 million now.
That price just went up, right? At least 40.1, something like that. So Josh Allen got a new deal. They ripped up his he had 4 years left on his contract.
Yeah.
They ripped the whole thing up. Usually when you hear about, like DK Metcalf got an extension onto the end of his deal, which makes it average out to $30 million over 5 years. Basically got 4 years tacked onto the end at about $33 million a year. So he's still going to be playing, I think, for like 17 this year. With Josh Allen and the Bills, they just said, to heck with your contract. Here's a brand new one. That bumped him up, get this, to Trevor Lawrence territory, right? $55 million a year on average. So he didn't surpass Dak Prescott, which, can you make it on $55 million? I know times are tough, but come on, right? Yeah. So leave a little bit on the table as long as the team's willing to spend it, and they have re-signed Khalil Shakir and Gregory Rousseau this offseason in an effort to still remain at the top of the AFC. Metcalf gets dealt to Pittsburgh. Devontae Adams signs with the Rams. Ernest Jones got a new contract with the Seahawks. Very good linebacker over the last few years. Aaron Jones re-upped with the Vikings for a year. Jamian Sherwood, Tone, many thought he was one of the most interesting linebacker prospects in free agency.
Big weekend for linebackers.
Signed a new deal to stay there. Harold Landry, who had been released by the Titans, got snapped up by the Patriots. Keep in mind, the Patriots have, even with the Jags in the top 10 for cap space, the Patriots had twice as much entering the weekend. Buffalo let Von Miller go. Lions released edge Zadarius Smith. Nick Bolton re-signed on a new, I think, $15 million a year average deal with Kansas City. So there was a lot of activity heading into today, which is the first official start of free agency. And on the occasions when Twitter is working today, you can give us some feedback on that platform. I'm having various mixed results with it right now, but we've thrown the question of the day out there on social media. And this is basically the way we're phrasing it. We're asking a simple question. It may seem a little bit more complicated. The way we're asking it is which player's agent should get the first call today when legal tampering, I use the air quotes on that, opens at noon. Not that the Jags haven't done groundwork like everybody else at the Combine and have a sense of where things are going. But this is more about who is the one guy that you really want to make sure that they attack and put the best foot forward and get an offer in front of. who is your top priority in free agency when legal tampering opens up at noon? They can't sign until Wednesday, but you're going to hear a flurry of moves agreed to this afternoon, even though technically you're not supposed to be able to talk money with these teams. We're going to hear about all that kind of stuff. And speaking of money, Tone, I know we talked about, was it Jeremy Fowler had it in a notes column coming out of the combine that the Jaguars would at least check the price on Carlton Davis, the Lions cornerback in free agency. Mm-hmm. That was one name that they've been associated with. And I see this headline on NFL.com, Carlton Davis, quote, "This time, I ain't going to settle for less." In other words, don't think I'm taking any kind of discount, hometown or otherwise. I want to get paid. And, hey, so do we all, Carlton. And we'll see if the Jags are the ones that end up paying him. Greg Rosenthal scheduled to join us in about 25 minutes from now. He's got his top 101 free agent list over at NFL.com. So you can check that out at your leisure, and that's changing on a moment-by-moment basis. And, of course, currently hosts NFL Daily, available wherever you listen to podcasts. Greg's been with NFL.com and NFL Network for a number of years right now, so we'll look forward to catching up with him. But if you want to get in, talk Jaguar football and how you'd like to see them attack free agency, not just who the first call should be to, but make your case. Who is that guy that you think should be at the top of their priority list heading into noon today, really over the next couple of days, to try to get some of these players secured and agreeing to sign on the dotted line as soon as first available coming up Wednesday afternoon. Of course, after today, Tony, we'll be out at the Players all week long. Doesn't mean we won't be monitoring everything that's happening, but as we get into the tournament later in the week, there's going to be a little bit of golf talk on the program, so steel yourself to the fact, folks, that we may deviate off the NFL path as we occasionally do during the Players' Championship for a day or two. That'll be all coming up at one of the crown jewels of the sports scene here on the First Coast. So if you want to be a part of the program today, 641-1010 on the phone lines or on the text line designed by Lifetime Enclosures. Hit us up in the YouTube virtual studio chat, or when it works on social media at MD_1010XL, at 1010XL Fat Tony, and at 1010XL Denmark.
It has begun.
Ah, there it is, right? They do it at midnight at 12:01 last night, Tony. That was the legend of Hacker. On the first day of free agency, I go out and step out in my driveway and scream at the top of my lungs, "It has begun." So there you have it. It has sort of almost begun. Tampering's been going on well before legal tampering. But who is that player or their agent that you'd like that first call to be made to? In other words, what's your top priority in free agency for the Jacksonville Jaguars? We'll discuss that and plenty more throughout the course of the next 2 hours. You're listening to Jaguars Today. Keep it right here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM. Hey, folks, Mike Dempsey here for Dandy Sandwiches, subs, all kinds of goodies from Dandy. Hey, when the rain comes, sometimes that weather gets a little bit cooler, and that's nice because it'll be so hot soon enough. But if you need a little something to warm you up in the morning or at any other time of day, Dandy and the Anytime Deli line of food has got your back. Made with the highest quality ingredients. They've got great breakfast items, of course, light lunchtime wraps, gourmet salads, protein packs, veggie trays, fruit cups, and a classic line of sandwiches and subs that Dandy has been perfecting the recipes on for nearly 70 years as a Jacksonville-based company. The Thompson family started Dandy nearly 7 decades ago, and they continue to thrive because, as I said, highest quality ingredients, great variety, locally source those ingredients as often as possible, deliver fresh daily, and they keep the prices in check as well. Whether it's to warm up your belly or just hunger pains, baby, when it's time to get some food in your belly, do what I do. Go out and make yours a Dandy. Do it today.
Jaguars
Today.
From the Renewal by Anderson Custom Windows and Doors Studios of 1010XL. 1010XL is your home for Jacksonville University basketball.
The Dolphins splash into the ASUN semifinal. JU North Alabama. Tomorrow night at 7 on 1010 AM.
Don't miss the Players' Championship, March 11th through 16th at TPC Sawgrass. This can't-miss event features a variety of activities for every fan to enjoy, from delicious bites to the Sawgrass Splash. There are endless fan enhancements that will make for a memorable experience. Plus, watch the top PGA Tour players, including back-to-back champion Scottie Scheffler, take on the iconic stadium course featuring the famous Island Green. Tickets available at theplayers.com.
You've got so many chances to win big on Hard Rock Bet. Even a small bet can bring in that serious cash. All you need is $1 and a dream.
Unbelievable. They've hit the parlay. Let's go!
Big payouts for every kind of player.
Hard Rock Bet. Roll with us.
Get up to $100 back if your first bet doesn't win. Payable and bonus bet up to $100, not a cash offer. Offered by the Seminole Tribe of Florida. Must be 21 plus and physically present in Florida to wager. Terms and conditions apply. Concerned about gambling? Please call 1-888-ADMIT-IT.
A lot goes into taking care of your property. You need equipment with more reliability and versatility built in, like Kubota BX and L Series compact tractors to get the job done right. Z Series mowers that deliver a quality cut, and Sidekick utility vehicles where durability meets speed. Visit Coastal Equipment for a demo today.
Greater power for the great outdoors. Coastal Equipment.
Coastal Equipment on New Kings Road and in McClenny.
It's a Dreamfinders Homes Monday.
Official home builder of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Real estate isn't just a job, it's a commitment. With Paige Covington, you get a dedicated partner who's available day or night because buying or selling a home doesn't follow a schedule. Your needs come first. Whether it's finding the perfect home or selling for top dollar, Paige Covington goes the extra mile every time. Meet Paige Covington with England Volkers at String Sports Brewery on Pittman Road in Jacks Beach, Friday, March 21st from 4 to 6 for Madness with the Frangie Show. PaigeCovington.evrealestate.com.
It's tune-up time, and Florida Home AC, the official AC partner of the Jaguars, wants to partner with you for a cool summer season. Tune up your AC unit right now so it's running at peak performance when you need it most. Just call 777-4300 and order a tune-up for just $59. Keep your unit humming at optimal level. Log on to FloridaHomeAC.com and take advantage of their savings. Keep cool with Florida Home AC. That's 777-4300.
I'm Rick Julius, a partner at Cordell & Cordell. Divorce is more than just a legal process. It's a life-changing event that can impact your future, finances, and your relationship with your children. You've worked hard to build a life that you're proud of, and you deserve a legal partner who will work just as hard to protect it.
Offices in Jacksonville. Schedule an appointment with one of Cordell & Cordell's attorneys. Lisa Cargis, Florida resident partner. Rick Julius, licensed in Pennsylvania only. Online at CordellCordell.com.
Committed to the mission. At Navy Mutual, we're committed to providing high-quality life insurance to members of the military and their families. Because at Navy Mutual, our highest commitment is to you. Visit NavyMutual.org.
For Canine Veterans Day, Navy Mutual would like to salute all active and retired canines that have served our country. Canine Veterans Day has been officially designated as a day to honor these unique members of our military. America salutes you.
Rev up the offseason with AA Automotive. Let's go. Big names, bold moves, and breaking news.
That's a beautiful thing.
Follow the free agency frenzy. Built by Superior Fence and Rail and Roland Reach Plumbing on 1010XL.
The Players. One of the biggest events on the PGA Tour is right here in our backyard. So how much do you know about the tournament? How many balls landed in the water surrounding the Island Green last year? In all, 36 found the drink at 17, including Bo Hostler, who now owns the distinction of hitting the 1,000th ball in the water at the 17th Island Green. Sawgrass Asset Management, specializing in high-quality growth stock and fixed income portfolios for institutional and high-net-worth investors. A Jacksonville company proud to be involved in the community.
Hey, this is Darren with One Call Lawn and Pest Control. Since 2011, we've taken great pride in being Northeast Florida's premier lawn, termite, and pest control company. Our technicians receive thorough training year-round, focusing on exceptional customer service with meticulous attention to detail. One Call serves the greater Jacksonville area, including St. Augustine, Orange Park, and Fernandina. We're eager for the opportunity to earn your business and welcome you to the One Call family. Call or text us for a free quote. 413-8377.
1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Jaguars Today on 1010XL.
Tone, there was a time when we did a little sports radio and we didn't have instant news always with the internet, or it was in its infancy or whatever the case may be if you've been in this business long enough. And then, it got consolidated to like, hey, social media, if you've got it, you're going to hear about it pretty quickly. Then you got to verify always, but if you've got a trusted source on there, you can do that. What happens to sports radio when Twitter is down? We will find out today. We'll endeavor to find out as it is a good source in terms of just following the trending, breaking stuff that's out there, but Twitter is down for the count right now. So we'll see how that all goes. We talked about all these different moves. Didn't even get to the one that really started the weekend. Geno Smith got dealt from Seattle. So they dealt away Geno Smith and DK Metcalf. Got to wonder what Seattle fans are thinking about right now, and released Tyler Lockett last week, although who knows, maybe they could circle back and get him at a cheaper price, whatever the case may be. Twitter may be back up here in as I look as I see what's going down. But regardless, any of these players that moved or signed, would you have liked to see the Jags be aggressive and at least going after or considering any of those folks that we've already mentioned this weekend?
Would have been okay with them, inquiring what the DK Metcalf thing was going to wind up looking like. Never really thought they would be seriously in consideration for that kind of thing. Harold Landry wouldn't have been terrible, but you're not paying that.
Right.
For your third edge guy. There's a bunch of guys that got moved around or got brought back to their spot over the course of the weekend. None of it surprised me, and none of it was a whole lot of guys that I was like, oh, that's a bummer.
I hope they at least knocked on the door of Devontae Adams, because the deal he signed, I would have loved to have had him here in Jacksonville for 2 years, $14 million cap hit this year. Next year is $30 right? But you can maybe extend that and negotiate it down, or maybe it turns into a 1 year, $26 million deal, and you take a dead cap hit on the back end of it. But 2 years is very attractive because in a couple of years, you're probably going to want to pay Brian Thomas Jr., right? And so that money would roll off. Again, Devontae Adams, at this stage, there's a lot of connection with him with the West Coast, so it's not surprising that he chose Los Angeles since they were interested. And, the contender part of it, the Rams objectively are more of a contender than the Jags are. Doesn't mean the Jags can't change that, but based on where the season ended, there's certainly, you got to consider them more of a contender than where Jacksonville is. And, don't know if they are even picking up the phone to make a call on that front. But I don't, again, we talked about it last week. Would have loved to have had him here. Didn't think it was realistic that he would have chosen Jacksonville based on his track record and what he was expressing that he was interested in. And, but that was the one that probably, if they could have gotten the same exact deal with him, I would have been on board with that.
Sure. And I think, as I mentioned in the first segment, the needs that the Jaguars have, nothing that happened this weekend affects them all that much directly outside of interior defensive line. Like a bunch of those names got snapped up, right? There are far fewer names available when free agency actually is going to open up today at noon than there were going into the weekend, including guys that we had mentioned, over the course of the last month and a half. Jerron Reed gets the deal done with Seattle. Right. It's that kind of level of guy at that spot. Adam Butler, I think, got his deal done today. Devon Godchaux got traded today. There are interior defensive line guys that have found new homes or going back to the homes that they already had. That would have been interesting names, at least, for the Jags to be looking into. Those guys not being available, it's kind of like, but they're not a whole lot higher as far as the level of these guys that I just mentioned than the guys that are still available, basically in free agency when it opens up. I don't know how seriously the Jags are going to go after that. I would assume when it opens up today at noon, my guess would be the first phone call is going to be someone playing on the interior offensive line.
Okay.
It's going to be the guard or center of their choice, right? That would be the first phone call they would make. I'm not sure which direction that would go. The Dahlman conversation about how he fits as the center here in Jacksonville kind of backed me off that a little bit going into it today at noon, but Tevin Jenkins, somebody like that would make sense to me as the first call that they make.
Dylan, that should bring us to today's 10-10 take. So why don't we fire that one up and take a look at today's
10-10
real estate question of the day.
Now, Mike Dempsey's 10-10 take is serviced by Ideal Conditions Heating and Air, your go-to local HVAC company, veteran owned and operated.
Look, I agree. You've got to address the offensive line. We all know it's not going to be a big secret, Tone, that they're going to go out and do that. Maybe it's Mekhi Becton. Maybe it's a Kevin Zeitler. Maybe there are all kinds of different options they can go. But for me, the first call I'm going to make today, if I'm interested in him, and I think the Jags will be interested, is Chris Godwin. Because I just need to know. Like, now, when I say I need to know, they may already know. But when I talk about making the first call, it's more of who are you prioritizing to find out about first, right? They may have already found out through the combine certain guys who are interested, others who are not interested. Maybe they're not going to be interested, the Jags, because of the price point that they're expecting. But we keep hearing Godwin's supposed to have a more robust market than some anticipate. Well, if that's the case, you played in a Liam Cohen offense last year, and you're off to a start that was among the most productive wide receivers in any corner of the National Football League last year. I just got to find out. You in and you out. Are we wasting our time? Are you looking for just the top penny possible, which that's certainly your right to do. Look, these things don't have to happen. It doesn't have to be like you're waiting to sign an offensive lineman because Chris Godwin hasn't given you the answer yet, right? I mean, you've got a budget on what you want to do. Yeah, at a certain point, you move off the guy and you redirect that money somewhere else. But it's not like, okay, we're going to call Chris Godwin and we won't talk to anybody else for the first couple of hours of free agency. It's just, that to me is more a priority to find out. If they actually are interested in repairing him with Liam Cohen, which I suspect that they would be, why not? You know, if he's going to have that kind of market, I think there are a lot of different offensive linemen you can pivot to. You may be right.
Sure.
That may be one of the first things, because sometimes, you know, when everybody's chasing the flashy name, you can kind of slide in there and get some deals done with some other guys who are being overlooked a little bit. But the problem is, even if you agree to it today, you know, somebody can come back over the top in the next couple of days, and we've seen it happen. You know, but that for me is my top priority, is finding out what is your interest level in Godwin.
Oh, high.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's high. But again, that's assuming the medical's going to be
of course
good, right? And it's kind of a similar situation. The guy that they have here now as the head coach should be as up to date on that as anyone outside of Tampa can be, right? As exactly what the situation was. What was the timeline for him getting back on the field? What was the expectation for what that would look like? Because last year when it happened, they at least had to be considering what's it going to be for Chris Godwin going into the next season, right? So he's got all of those kind of conversations that he had during his time there in Tampa. I think it is sometimes you get put in a situation where I'm talking about the offensive line thing more from the angle of if they have one guy that they want to prioritize because they think he fits what they want to do somewhere in that interior offensive line more than some of the other names do, I wouldn't be surprised if the priority is we're going after this guy, we're going after him hard, and we're going after the moment that we can. And if it means, I wouldn't even be surprised if they're willing to overpay a little bit for that guy, right? Like it wouldn't surprise me all that much. But yeah, Godwin makes a lot of sense as the first call.
All right, so right now you can't tweet at us, at least.
It's back up.
Yes, back.
It is back.
Come on, man, you're 5 minutes late.
I keep hitting retry, and it keeps not doing anything. It finally just clicked in. I kind of came back halfway about 5 minutes ago, but regardless, you can tweet us your response. You can text us your response at 641-1010 on the text line designed by Lifetime Enclosures. Who is the player that you'd like to have the first call go to from the Jacksonville Jaguars officially? We're not saying these conversations aren't already happening. It's, in other words, who's the top priority for you in free agency? The number one person you got to find out about, whether they're in, out, interested, or otherwise, when legal tampering opens up, coming up at noon today. Greg Rosenthal from NFL.com slated to join us coming up next to talk free agency, plus get a little bit of a national perspective on what the Jags have done to this point in the offseason. That's straight ahead. You're listening to Jaguars Today. Keep it right here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM. Hey, folks, Mike Dempsey here for Pella Windows and Doors. Look, I try to only recommend the best. It's why I'm proud to say I chose Pella Windows and Doors for my own home. Now's a great time for you to upgrade your home with 0% financing for 60 months. That's 5 years of interest-free payments on the best windows and doors in the business. Schedule a free consultation by going to PellaJacks.com or visit their showroom on Phillips Highway just north of Bay Meadows. For quality you can trust and savings you absolutely cannot miss. That's Pella Windows and Doors.
Something is coming. It's 1010XL.
We actually found it!
Yes, that's all that matters to me.
Jaguars Today.
It's a Dream Finders Homes Monday.
Here's Linda Beaver.
At Beaver Toyota, we believe your experience should be more than just buying a car. It should be a lifetime of confidence, care, and trust. We're proud to offer a lifetime warranty, lifetime oil changes, and lifetime customer service. We're not just here to sell you a car. We're here to establish a lifelong relationship that you can always count on. It's simple. You deserve the best and shouldn't settle for less. Visit Beaver Toyota in St. Augustine, where we're ready to give you peace of mind for a lifetime. We're here to wow you.
It's time to keep the party going. All parrot heads unite once again with Jimmy Buffett's Coral Reaper Band. It's 5 o'clock live in Jacksonville. Daly's Place, Saturday, March 15th. Tickets on sale now at Ticketmaster.com. Let's keep the party going with a tribute to Jimmy Buffett featuring the Coral Reaper Band. One night only, Saturday, March 15th, Daly's Place.
Ahead, we build platforms for digital business. We help create your platform for digital business by weaving together advances in cloud infrastructure, intelligent operations, and modern applications. Digital business is comprised of 5 pillars. We call them imperatives because they're a must-have, not a nice-to-have. We enterprise cloud, integrated security, scaled DevOps, intelligent operations, and relentless automation. Need help with digital transformation? Ahead. Learn, grow, achieve.
The Mr. Chubby's Bracket Challenge is coming. Following Selection Sunday, go to 1010XL.com, print your bracket, and bring it to any Mr. Chubby swings during Live Madness games. Get a free Miller Lite for every game you pick right. Top prize, Saturday passes to Welcome to Rockville.
Hey, gang, Prosser here. We've talked about some of the struggles that you may come across when it comes time to sell your home. We've told you how great Chad and Sandy are at chadandsandy.com. But, you know, they're also great when things are going good and the economy is showing positive signs. Now may be the time to sell your home at the price you want. It's easy to find out. Get friendly expert help from the Jacksonville agents who eat and sleep local real estate. Call my agents, Chad and Sandy Newman. So maybe you want guaranteed no-hassle home sale but don't want to give up hard-earned equity to do it. Chad and Sandy can do that. Maybe you're worried you won't sell your home for the price you need. Well, let's take care of that right now because here's the Chad and Sandy guarantee. Your home sold at an agreed-upon price and deadline, or they will buy it. Jonathan in Mount Pleasant said the only thing standing between me and my dream of traveling in my RV was the sale of my Mount Pleasant home. I heard Chad and Sandy on the radio and called. Crazy results in just 3 days. Multiple offers, full asking price. You can get it too. Call today or go to chadandsandy.com.
You've got a lot on your plate. The last thing you need is car trouble. At Maxie's Mechanics, we help you keep your cars, trucks, and SUVs running safely. Visit MaxieAutoRepair.com today for honest service, reliable repairs, and peace of mind for you and your family.
Jaguars Today.
You're at the home of the Jaguars in the Renewal by Anderson Custom Windows and Doors Studios. Superior products, exceptional service.
We're giving away free AC inspections to our wonderful customers who now call and schedule. But you must act today. A deal this good won't last forever. Call 904-862-6769. DuckDuckAC.com. Any required repairs are not included in the inspection.
Tired of weekend projects turning into weekend disasters? You're not alone. Building a fence isn't as easy as it looks. Let's face it, your neighbor Steve still hasn't fixed his lopsided masterpiece. But Superior Fence and Rail makes it easy. Highly trained professionals, top quality materials, and a fence you'll love for years to come. Skip the stress and call the pros today.
SuperiorFenceandRail.com. Hello, I'm attorney Malcolm Anthony. Being charged with domestic violence can turn your life upside down. If you're in trouble, call me, Malcolm Anthony, at 285-4LAW. That's 285-4LAW.
Need or want cash? Beach's Jewelry and Pawn has cash available. Ready to buy guitars, surfboards, jewelry, firearms, tools, and especially gold. They need it all, selling or pawning. Get cash on the spot at Beach's Jewelry and Pawn in Jacksonville Beach.
Attention men and women. If you would like to get your hair back, then you need to listen to some of our clients. John in Orange Park.
IHRS showed me what was causing my hair loss and helped stop it.
Call IHRS now at 904-777-IHRS. Find out how to grow your hair back with a free hair and scalp examination. Mike from Bay Meadows.
I finally found the most experienced company who could restore my hair. Now I have hair where I had none before.
Results guaranteed. Diane from Ponte Vedra.
Now I have what lotions couldn't give me.
thick, beautiful hair.
Find out why you're losing your hair and how to grow your hair back. Call 904-777-IHRS for a limited time free hair and scalp examination.
Now my hair will grow for the rest of my life. Thanks, IHRS. Thank you, IHRS.
Thanks, IHRS, for giving me my hair back.
Hurry and receive a free hair and scalp examination and get 2 weeks of laser treatments for free. Call IHRS at 904-777-IHRS. That's 904-777-4477. Hairforme.com.
1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Now, more Jaguars Today on 1010XL.
All right, efforting Greg Rosenthal, NFL.com. Busy day, obviously, with free agency. So we're hoping to get a few minutes with Greg, who hosts NFL Daily, wherever you listen to your podcast. Been with the NFL and NFL Network since 2012, and don't hold it against him, but with Pro Football Talk before that, along with various outlets from NBC Sports. So, right now, Evan Ingram said to be visiting the Denver Broncos today, Tony, which is really a pretty good landing spot right now if you want some volume at the tight end position for a number of reasons. Not like Sean Payton has shied away from using the tight end in interesting capacities in the past. So Evan Ingram might get snatched up fairly quickly out there on the market. And, still, I think this is the move so far that has made the most people question, okay, are we just going to drink the Kool-Aid, or are we going to have an issue with some of the moves that James Gladstone and company are putting together? And look, I get it. Liam Cohen is heavily involved. Tony Baselli's heavily involved, but I still default to thinking about the GM making these kind of decisions ultimately on which players to keep or release. It's up to Liam Cohen to run his team and who's going to play and all that kind of stuff. And they can do it any way they want. I'm not trying to blame anybody. First of all, I understand the move. I would not have necessarily done it, but I do understand it. But it does seem like, just based on the reaction I continued to get over the weekend to our question asking for how people felt about Evan Ingram being let go by the Jags, that it was, the first one I think that had people questioning, are we just same old jagging it by letting good players go off this roster without any compensation?
They haven't had enough good players on the roster to get all that upset about something like that. It's not like they've very often had a player of Evan Ingram's caliber that they even had the opportunity to let go, right? Well, I know we've had conversations over time where they sign or draft somebody and we're like, well, now they can let go of X. And we're like, well, why would you let go of X? You're allowed to have more than one good player at these positions, right? Like, we've had those kind of conversations over time. This feels more stylistically, it doesn't match what they want to do.
Right.
It just doesn't match what they want to do. It's a good indication that they're willing to move off Evan Ingram. It's not like it was going to cost them all that much. And it's not a free agency class where you're going to be able to add a tight end anywhere near his caliber, right? Like, they're not going to be able to directly replace what Evan Ingram could give them as a receiving tight end. Those guys just aren't going to be available in this free agency class. For whatever reason, the way they want to run their offense doesn't fit Evan Ingram. And so the price point with the player and their skill set doesn't match. I think there is something to, the idea of, well, you make it match, and I don't think that's a ridiculous thing to feel or say. Make it work with Evan Ingram. That's not a difficult thing to do. And I can understand whatever level of frustration the fans are willing to express. Well, I'm not all that surprised by it, but it is the first opportunity for people to get, a little bit upset with the front office. But it is a clear indication that it just doesn't fit what they want to do.
Did you see the deal that J.C. Horn just got?
No.
The former South Carolina corner, right? J.C. Horn, his first year in the league, he's been injured a bunch, right? His first year in the league, he played 3 games. Okay, then I think he played 13. He played 6 in his third year. He played 15 games last year. He's now the highest paid cornerback in the National Football League. He got 4 years, $100 million. Guy has 5 interceptions in 4 seasons. I don't know where he ranked. He had 13 pass breakups last year, which is pretty good. I mean, I'm not saying he is a good player when he is on the field. $25 million a year average tops Jalen Ramsey now at the top of the board. So this is what you get into when you get into free agency. Yeah. Are you excited because, hey, we got to, in their case, re-signed a young corner that's going to be a big fixture, but he also is taking up all that cap that went up this year didn't go up $25 million. It went up a little less than that. Yeah. So, I mean, for a guy that has played, maybe 2/3 of the game since he's come into the National Football League, maybe a little less than that, getting $25 million a year. I'm not upset with the money. It's compared to his peers and how you have to budget, what do the DJ Reeds and the Byron Murphys and all that, when they look at that, Byron Murphy may look at that and go, are you kidding me? My number just went up $3 or $4 million a year because most people felt like he was the best available cornerback on the market.
Yeah, look, this is how free agency works every year. Right. And usually we're following these things closely because the Jags have so much money and so many needs that they're going to have to, we've had years where they're going to be able to run it. We've had, and then New England will sign both tight ends that we talked about for 2 months.
Right.
And we'll go, I guess they're not going to run it. That kind of thing is how we've had to react to it in the past. This year, they've created a bunch of cap space with the moves they've made here in the last 4 or 5 days. So now they can be more of a player in this year's free agency than I think we expected they were potentially going to be this year. I think the cost they're probably going to have to spend, $12, $15 million to go get a starting safety a year. They're probably going to have to spend something in the neighborhood of $20 million a year to go get a starting corner, on the opposite side of that. That's the cost of doing business. So if they fill those two positions, they've spent half their free agency money off the rip. That's what they've done. And I wouldn't be surprised if they do both of those things.
But if they do that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be an even distribution. Like if you get 4 years, $60 million, doesn't mean you'll count 15 this year.
No.
In fact, generally that first year, you can finagle it. Like you can stack a bunch of those guys. You got to be careful and do a good job on the back end so you don't get caught with a ton of dead money at the same time. You look at last year, Tyson Campbell got his deal. Now, Tyson Campbell has had his ups and downs, hasn't been the perfect corner. But what would Tyson Campbell get on this market right now, right? He signed a 4-year, $76.5 million deal with the Jaguars, whereas here's J.C. Horn going out there and going 4 years, $100 million that quickly in the very next offseason. And look, again, J.C. Horn, nice player. Tyson Campbell's had 6 interceptions the last 3 years. Horn's had 5 in 4 years, right? So, I know interception's not the only measure of success as a defensive back, but it seems like, again, sign your guys early if you possibly can, if you know they're part of your long-term future. Somebody replied today to the question of the day, who's the first call you'd make? They said to Trayvon Walker's agent, because you're going to end up spending a bunch of money on a bunch of guys who are probably not worth it in free agency. You're going to overspend. Now, look, there have been times when it's been very successful. The Jags in 2017 are an AFC championship game contender without the free agent class, headlined by Calais Campbell and A.J. Boye for sure. What do you think the Philadelphia Eagles are winning the Super Bowl without Saquon Barkley? I don't. So sometimes you do go to free agency, and maybe it's for that final piece, that last push, whatever the case may be. But look, we'd all like to build it through the draft, but it's not always going to be possible. But, with Trayvon, I don't know. I mean, it's hard for me to say I get the sense one way or another what the Jags are thinking. I have no idea what they're thinking about what the timing should be. For me, personally, I've got Trayvon Walker under team control for a couple more years. I don't feel the need to break the bank on him right now, but if you think it's going to go in that direction, you want to get ahead of it at the same time. But do you want to be paying 2 edge rushers $30+ million a piece? And I don't know if Trayvon's going to merit that. But, I mean, if J.C. Horn merits $25 million a year, Trayvon's actually had double-digit sacks a couple of times. So I think that, it's not a crazy way to look at it to say, hey, just focus on the guys that you need to take care of here. I'm sure that they've got a plan, in the short and long term, what they're going to do with Trayvon Walker. I don't anticipate that happening. Now, I think that if that were going to happen, probably would have happened before free agency got here, so you'd know exactly what kind of cap space you're dealing with, right?
Sure, but I think it makes sense to have the thought in your head of if they were going to sign Trayvon Walker, say, to a 3-year extension. So say he plays out the last year of his rookie deal where you're not really messing with that money. You're going to give him a big signing bonus paycheck, right, which would make him content because that's going to be the one that's going to be $30 million, whatever, right? You're going to hand him that money right off the rip. That gets spread out over the 4 or 5 years, whatever you got on the contract. It would make sense. I don't know what the number would be, though, for Trayvon Walker. If he was willing to sign that kind of deal this year where you were able to get a 3-4 year extension at $25 million a year, yeah, run. Get that done now. Don't even do it now. Right? That's the kind of thing that if you could get him to agree to that kind of thing, because who knows what that's going to look like in 2 years. The money's going to keep going up at the edge rush position. And with the rookie contract that you can still play out while you give him the signing bonus, it would make all kinds of sense to go that direction if you could figure out whatever that number was going to look like. Because I can't imagine a world where they're not going to be bringing Trayvon Walker back on his second contract at this point.
Right.
So if that's the idea, then figure out what that number would be to make both sides happy and get it done right now. But it not having gotten done yet probably does indicate that this offseason it's not likely to get done. He'll be playing the 4th year of his deal.
Right. So if you've got a player, particularly one, obviously, on another team right now, who do you want to see the Jags make the first call to? That's what we're looking at today. Tony's going offensive line, and I would make the first call to Chris Godwin, presuming the Jaguars are interested. It's an easy connection to make. He thrived in Liam Cohen's offense.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't mean they look at it and say, this is where we project his market to be. That doesn't make economic sense for us. Look, they've got over $60 million in cap space. I heard the guys talking about on the drill this morning. You have to go out there if you're the Jags now and fill a couple of spots, even if they're stopgap short-termers, a guy that you might sign and say, well, that's not good enough for the long term, but it may be good enough for right now because I need guys that can play, because we may go out and draft a bunch of rookies. Maybe it doesn't fall the way we want in the NFL draft, and maybe those guys aren't going to be ready to contribute right away. You've got holes at safety. You got holes at corner. You've got multiple starting holes on the offensive line. I think we all agree you need more wide receiver help on this football team. Some people think defensive line is the top priority. I certainly need a third edge rusher, some help at defensive tackle. There are a lot of ways to go. I saw a mock, I think it was at the end of the week, last week, and it had the Jags drafting a linebacker in round 2. And you think about it, it's like, I have no idea what they think of Devin Lloyd, right? Devin Lloyd, I don't think has lived up to the status of a first-round pick with this team. And, multiple picks were given to acquire him. And, you look at Foye Oluokun, I think Foye is still in the plans, but it's a whole new front office, and everything's turned over, and it's a new set of eyes that are weighing, evaluating and weighing in on everything right now. I don't think linebackers near the top of this team's needs. I think it's a luxury, but it depends on how they're looking at the long-term structure of the players that they've currently got on this roster as to whether or not they see that as something that they need to get better at quickly. It just seems like there are more glaring holes on this roster.
Oh, for sure.
Than that. So anyway, 641-1010 if you want to get in on the phone lines or the text line. Twitter is apparently back up and working properly now, and you can hit us up there as well at MD_1010XL, at 1010XL Fat Tony. Tell us when the legal tampering window opens up, and we know tampering's already taken place to some degree for sure at the NFL Scouting Combine. Who should the Jags' first call be to? Which player's agent should get that ring? In other words, who's your top priority for the Jags to focus on over the next couple of days to make sure they sign on Wednesday to start putting this team together a little bit for 2025? Mike Dempsey, Tony Smith, Dylan Denmark here with you. You're listening to Jaguars Today on 1010XL and 92.5 FM.
Jaguars Today.
From the Renewal by Anderson Custom Windows and Doors Studios of 1010XL. Defense in Duval.
Another pick for that Jags terrific secondary.
1010XL.
Ball's knocked out of there, and the Jags have it.
Home of the Jaguars.
Tired of seeing the signs of aging in the mirror? Fine lines, sun damage, redness? They don't have to be part of your future. I'm Dr. Mark Capel, a board-certified dermatologist, and I can help you look and feel your best without invasive surgery or painful treatments. Imagine rejuvenating your skin in a relaxing, comfortable environment with minimal to no downtime. Smooth out fine lines, even skin tone, and restore that youthful glow. Find out how to look and feel your best at Dermagnify.com. Dermagnify.com.
When you need a mechanic you can trust, call Sam, Harry, or Joe at AA Automotive on Richard Street. From oil changes to complex engine repairs, AA Automotive promises expert service and honest pricing from a local family biz. AA Automotive on Richard Street.
Tired of drafty, noisy vinyl windows? It's time to say goodbye to vinyl. And hello to lasting comfort with Renewal by Anderson Windows and Doors. Our exclusive Fiberx windows are 2 times stronger than vinyl, more energy efficient, and custom built to fit your home perfectly. No more warping, no more cracking, just beautiful, durable windows that stand the test of time. Right now, get special financing or save big with limited time discounts. Call Renewal by Anderson today and say bye-bye vinyl. Visit bestwindowsflorida.com. Don't wait. Upgrade today. License number CGC 1527613.
Dreamfinders Homes, Monday.
On Jaguars Today.
Bueller. Stay cooler with Bueller.
Hey, buddy, you look worried.
Worried? I'm apoplectic.
You're what now?
I'm freaking out, Jason. Stupid water heater crapped out, so I haven't showered since Thursday. I start smelling a little funky, blow my big corporate job interview tomorrow. I'll end up settling for some dead-end career selling spatulas on the internet.
Dude, stay cool.
There's nothing cool about a cold shower, Jason. I mean, I know how that sounds, but
Bueller Air and Plumbing can get a new water heater installed today. The day you call. You could be smelling fresh again by dinner time.
Wait, you can do that?
Put on these sunglasses. Whoa. Is that cooler?
Oh, yeah.
Well, life moves pretty fast. If you spend much more time smelling like this, you could miss it.
Stay cooler with Bueller.
Visit BuellerAir.com.
Hey everybody, Mike Dempsey here. In the past 10 years, the weight loss industry has seen it all. New medications, fad diets, sculpting, and still, Awaken 180 continues to stand alone as the proven solution for weight loss online at awaken180weightloss.com.
Daly's Dash is not only your Jaguars game day stop, but a great place to grab a meal any day of the week. To honor the Jags and the fans, we've crafted the Duval sub. The Duval comes with freshly sliced turkey, ham, melted cheddar, and habanero jack cheese, topped with crisp lettuce, fresh tomatoes, and a double portion of our secret sauce, all served on a fresh roll. Come by your local's Daly's Dash today to get your delicious Duval sub. Daly's is the official convenience store sponsor of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
WJXL AM Jacksonville Beach. WJXL FM Jacksonville Beach.
Hi, it's Rick Ballou. I hope you'll join me and some former NFL players for an incredible event at the end of March, the Lone Warrior Foundation 2025 Champions of Hope Charity Golf and Tennis Challenge. March 31st at Marsh Landing will support single-parent families in their fight against cancer. An opportunity to win sensational prizes, but more importantly, we will bring meaningful hope and support to the lives of families affected. To sign up, go to LoneWarriorFoundation.com. That's LoneWarriorFoundation.com.
This is Hayes Carline for First Florida Credit Union. I bank with First Florida Credit Union because I trust them. I can always count on them when it comes to the vast services they provide. First Florida Credit Union was voted Best Credit Union in the 2024 Best of Bold City Community Choice Awards. And it's easy to see why. I go to the branch off 210 in St. Johns County and the new Durbin location, but they have 10 branches in the Jacksonville area. You need to be banking with First Florida Credit Union. They're enriching people every day. Federally insured by NCUA, Equal Housing Opportunity Lender.
This is Greg Huntington, a.k.a. The Mangler. I'm on the winning team at Waste Management. WM is the largest sustainability company in North America. If your business needs sustainable environmental services for waste removal and recycling collection, then you can count on the industry leader of WM to deliver results. Your services will be completed in a timely, safe, and eco-friendly manner. Go to WM.com/Duval. That's WM.com/Duval and get signed up today. If anyone can talk trash, it's the Mangler.
Hi, I'm Jeff Breyer, president of Lifetime Enclosures and Lifetime Flooring.
And I'm Zach Breyer. When my dad started in business in 1990, I wasn't even born yet.
That's true, and after 35 years and nearly 20,000 satisfied customers, we literally have a showroom in every neighborhood.
So whether you need more outdoor living space with a glass or screen enclosure, or you're looking to transform your home with new flooring, we've got you covered.
Visit our websites, or better yet, do yourself a favor and stop by one of our showrooms on Phillips Highway to experience the Lifetime difference and receive 20% off your purchase now through March.
This is your local sports update. I'm RJ Saunders for 1010XL. Team and agents can officially negotiate contracts today at noon. Also come to terms on contracts that'll be made official once the new league year begins at 4 p.m. on Wednesday. The Jaguars were very active in making moves last week, officially releasing tight end Evan Ingram and wide receiver Josh Reynolds. The team also agreed to trade wide receiver Christian Kirk. Stay locked on 1010XL as we'll update you with all the moves the team makes throughout the week. JU Baseball completed their series sweep of the North Carolina A&T Aggies over the weekend. The Dolphins are headed to Daytona Beach on tomorrow to face Bethune-Cookman in a midweek matchup with first pitch scheduled for 6 p.m. Right now, 68 degrees at 10:54. Time and temp brought to you by Bueller Air and Plumbing. Stay cooler with Bueller.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Everything you need to know about the Jags. Jaguars Today on 1010XL.
So, Tony, not a earth-shattering move, but an interesting one, I thought. The Jaguars put the original round tender on Cole Van Lanen.
Mm-hmm.
So some team signs him away from the Jags. They would get a sixth-round pick, which is more than they got for Christian Kirk, which is kind of interesting. But there was talk during the preseason last year. I mean, Cole Van Lanen graded out very well in terms of preseason marks from the folks at PFF. There was talk that he was a player that teams were keeping their eye on, and the Jags obviously kept him around and may end up being the swing tackle for this football team. And, you know, not only that, Walker Little signed for roughly $15 million a year, right, for the 3-year extension. Mm-hmm. And you look at what's out there on the market right now, that Ronnie Stanley's been snapped up, and people are saying that Cam Robinson may be the top of the heap once again.
Yeah.
Right, and may get more than that $15 million. In other words, you know, if Walker Little were out there, if J.C. Horn can miss 29 games over the last 4 years and get $70 million guaranteed on a 4-year, $100 million contract, who's to say what Walker Little might have gotten on spec? You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
I don't think he would have gotten $70 million guaranteed, but I think he might have done a lot better than he did on that 3-year deal, which, though, at the time, if you're Walker Little, you haven't made it to the end of the season. You're not there at free agency. There's a lot of insurance that comes with that. That's life-changing money, even if it's not, you know, top-of-the-market money. You haven't been a top-of-the-market player.
Yeah.
I thought it was fair for him. I thought it was fair for the Jags at the time. And otherwise, I mean, what would we be looking at right now?
Yeah.
3 holes in the offensive line starting lineup?
Yeah.
For the Jags, including left tackle? I mean, it's untenable.
Yeah, they at least prevented that potential disaster, right? And as I've pretty much said from the moment that they signed him to that deal, the deal made sense. We talked about the Balky aspects of it. It's like, this means Balky's back. It's like, well, in the end, it didn't. So you can let go of that, you know, idea or whatever in your mind. And I think Walker,
it did kind of go down that road.
It did go down that road.
The original intention.
The red dead ended before we got to that being the long-term story there. And I think Walker Little is at least an average left tackle, right? He's not going to be listed in the top 5 or 10 left tackles in the league, but I don't think he's anywhere near, you know, the bottom 10 left tackles in the National Football League either. I think he's right there in the middle of the group of starting left tackles in the National Football League. And if that's what you have for a year or two, I think that's okay, especially on a team that's going to have obvious needs at center and right guard, right? And at some point, can Anton Harrison be a player that we talk again about, hey, do we want to take a look at him at left tackle? Wasn't that what he was drafted
right
as? Can we get him back to playing at a level where that kind of thing comes into the conversation again at some point in his career here soon? We'll see about that kind of thing. But, yeah, to not have 3 of the 5 positions wide open on the offensive line, thank goodness.
Hey, Dylan, check your phone there, buddy. That's how we produce the show over-the-air broadcast signal, because I can't tell if he's even in there anymore, Tony, now that the little corner picture is gone on the YouTube virtual chat. Anyway, I think we're efforting Greg Rosenthal now. I think what happened was we had a number transposed. Oh, Dylan, I gave you the wrong number, by the way. I gave you the wrong number again. I'll give you I mistyped it. Send it to you. Here's the last 4 digits. All right. So that's what it was. We were off on that second to last digit, and then we're about to wake somebody else up on the West Coast again. So we'll see if we can get Greg Rosenthal in from NFL.com here in a moment. Other thing, Tony, that was slightly interesting to me with Ronnie Stanley off the board.
Yeah.
Right. A lot of talk that New England was going to go after him with all that cap space that they have. Might make Will Campbell a lot more likely as the selection at 4. I do think it can be interesting if it goes Cam Ward, if Abdul Carter goes to the Browns. If the Giants take Shedeur Sanders, it's going to be Will Campbell versus Travis Hunter for the New England Patriots with that 4th pick, at least the way things stand right now. All right, we got Greg Rosenthal joining us here on 1010 XL. A few minutes late, but that was a numeric issue on our end here. So, Greg, glad you could join us here. Mike Dempsey, Tony Smith here with you on Jaguars Today. What's going on, my man?
What's happened? You just like me on so I can tell you you're the best fantasy football player I ever played against.
I did not even mention that to you. Well, thank you very much. Greg has said this to me over the years a number of times. This is how I call it invested or pathetic, whatever you want. Once I got Greg to do an AOL Instant Messenger chat with me for about 2 hours as I tried to trade him Monty Beisel, the former Kansas City Chiefs linebacker. And I'll never forget that. We never got the deal across the finish line, but that was the kind of effort that we put in. So, Greg, tell us before we get into a little bit of free agency and your thoughts on the Jags offseason, where can folks catch you these days on NFL Daily and elsewhere helping out the NFL Network?
Yeah, I love this time of year. This is my favorite time, free agency. So we're doing daily shows, my podcast, NFL Daily, doing one with Daniel Jeremiah every week, too, kind of looking at the draft and free agency. That's called 40s and Free Agents. And they'll even, sneak me onto TV tonight on the insiders here and there. So this week, it's crazy. It's off and running. It started yesterday, really.
Oh, absolutely. Look, it started at the Combine, really. Right. Laying the groundwork for a lot of this stuff. Before we get to some of the moves you expect to be made or you'd like to see made, just what is your impression from 3 time zones away from what the Jacksonville Jaguars have done to reshape their organization so far this offseason?
Yeah, I like how aggressive they are in choosing who are their guys. Can Evan Ingram help a team out there? Like, absolutely. He's visiting the Broncos today. Is he the right fit at that salary for them? They decided no, and I like it when they're not being beholden to the old guard. I think it's an interesting setup. We had James Gladstone on our show at the Combine, and it's just, from the outside, the one concern I would have is it feels like there's a lot of cooks in the kitchen, and they're hiring Gladstone to kind of make that all work together between Baselli and ownership and obviously the new coaching staff. And you always wonder who is ultimately in charge, and he's going to be at least somewhat in charge of kind of making all those pieces fit.
Looking at what the Jaguars will do here in about an hour when the tampering period officially opens up, how aggressively do you expect the Jaguars to pursue wide receiver Chris Godwin?
I believe they'll be in that mix. I hear the prices going up. The Patriots are reportedly very high on him. I'm a little surprised he hasn't re-signed with the Bucs. It wouldn't shock me if we find out at 20 minutes before free agency starts that he gets some big deal with the Bucs, because that's probably what he wants to do. But the Jaguars would be a great option for him. He doesn't have to go too far and would be a nice compliment, obviously, to what they have.
Greg, I mean, this is the story every single year, but this year it really stands out to me. You had a couple of premium guys taken off the list with the franchise tag, and then you see other people get elevated up because of need. J.C. Horn just got $70 million guaranteed on a 4-year, $100 million deal, and he's missed 29 games in the last 4 years. Are the smart teams going to wait out the early wave, maybe sign one starter, and then kind of when it settles down after some of the ridiculous numbers, come back in with, a little bit of veteran help, or are we just going to see a feeding frenzy like we always do?
Yeah, there's going to be some of that, but I really think this year is different. And I think you saw it in the last couple of days with a lot of guys lower on my list, guys in the 50s, 60s, 80s, the guys that would normally be in the second wave getting good deals to stay. And I think there's a reason for it. Yes, the Jaguars are going to be aggressive, but I have about 10, 15 teams out there that frankly have too much cap space. It is much easier to have cap space than it is to find players suspended on. The Panthers, with that Horn deal, are a great example. Like, it makes sense for them because he really is their best young player on the team, and they have no one else to spend it on. They have too much cap space, so what are they going to do? It is easier than ever to keep anyone on your roster that you remotely want to keep. I really believe, not that we're in a post-salary cap era, but when you compare it to the NBA, the salary cap is not an issue for half the league out there. And I include the Jaguars in that mix. Even though they're paying Trevor Lawrence a lot of money, you can say, and there's some other big contracts, obviously, with Josh Allen. Ultimately, like, they have more than they really know what to do with. And that's the case for about 15 teams out there.
Where do you think teams should be looking if they are looking for interior offensive line help when it opens up in an hour?
That is a position that I think is a little deeper. A guy that I really like that I think is going to have a market is Treshaun Wharton from the Chiefs. He's a guy who can make people miss in a tight window, and that's a spot where certainly the Jaguars would like to get a little bit more of a pass rush. I actually think that there is good depth at defensive line in the draft and in free agency. So maybe you're not getting like monster difference makers. I'm keeping an eye on if David Onyemata gets cut by the Falcons. They just cut Grady Jarrett, who would be an interesting kind of veteran. Like, those are guys that hopefully you get, like a Calais Campbell for a 1-year, $7-8 million contract. And those are the types of guys that I think they could get, in addition to possibly a younger guy like Wharton.
Did it surprise you that Evan Ingram was let go by the Jags? They did get some cap savings, and the feeling is he's not a perfect fit for how Liam Cohen wants to run his offense. We're already hearing he's going to visit with Denver today. Was that a move that, raised an eyebrow, or did it make sense to you?
No, it did raise an eyebrow for me, especially in this market where, look, he's the best free agent tight end available now, especially with Mike Gesicki off the board. But I would have taken Ingram because there's not too often you see guys who you can imagine starting for a good team, and I would include Evan Ingram in that category, that get cut. But that's what I said I liked about it. He clearly isn't what Liam Cohen is looking for. They're in year one. Don't waste the year paying a lot of money, biggest cap number on the team, to a guy that you ultimately wouldn't want to sign yourself. And that's why I thought it was good that they were decisive with who they got rid of. Even a player like Christian Kirk, who had those injuries, and some of their defensive players, like they know what they want. I think Liam Cohen, and I sort of posited it earlier, like, who's running the show? Ultimately, you got to look at the salaries. I mean, the ownership is running the show, but Liam Cohen's making a lot of money, and his voice, especially on offense, is obviously going to be the most important.
Yeah, I was curious. You've talked about the salary cap and it being kind of a weird age for it, right, in the National Football League. They create a bunch more space with the moves that they've made. They got about $60 million that they can spend now in free agency. How do you think the Jags are positioned just going in to this free agency, and how important do you think the cap space actually is in today's NFL?
I do think it's still important because, one thing you see that with Philadelphia, for instance, they spend to the cap every year. They find a way to use all that money. And weirdly, I think teams have left money on the table carrying cap over a year. And that's why the Eagles can actually make some big mistakes. They can sign Bryce Huff for $20 million and no one notices because they took about 8-9 swings last year in free agency and they hit 5 or 6 of them. And, you have a big swing and miss on 1 or 2. So I think, especially at certain positions, the Jaguars are going to need interior offensive linemen. Now, whether that's a James Daniels from Pittsburgh coming off an injury, I think would be interesting, or a center, or some of the guards out there like a Will Fries from Indianapolis. Maybe you can overpay a little bit there. You can also bring in veterans on these short-term deals, 1-year deal that you use the cap space this year, but it doesn't hurt you at all going into next year. So I think, when I looked at their roster for an exercise we did looking at all the teams, I thought they were in an interesting spot. That you guys know they've been there for a while. I actually didn't think, compared to a lot of bad teams out there and a lot of teams in general, they had a ton of screaming needs. They just are just kind of average at a lot of positions. So that's a good spot to be, where you can spend that money trying to upgrade but you don't feel like you have crazy, crazy big needs. Maybe you feel differently in the secondary. I don't know where, but overall, like, I think they're a solid enough team, but just lacking difference makers.
Yeah, we probably are a little bit more critical than that. I think they need a starting corner, 1 to 2 starting safeties, defensive line depth for sure, a couple of starting offensive linemen, wide receiver depth, another tight end. They got a lot, but you know what?
I'm telling you, though.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, Mike, like they these other teams, even some good ones out there, you look at it and you're like, wow, they need 8 starters. And these are some decent teams, and I don't see that totally with the Jags.
No, you're right. I mean, like they said when they took it over, this new brain trust, that they felt like they were closer to competing than not, and that they were a better roster than 4 wins. I'm not going to give them a grace period because then they decided to dismantle a few of those pieces, but we got to see how the whole plan comes together. Greg, one thing that usually is a red flag for me is a team wanting to get rid of a good player because, you know, somebody else is going to take on that problem and have to pay him a bunch of money. I don't know if that's going to be the case with DK Metcalf. I understand what Pittsburgh's trying to do. But when it comes to Cooper Kupp, like I read last week, Cooper Kupp would be fantastic in any team system that does what McVay does. Well, how about McVay? Like, if they're ready to move on from him, that's an issue for me. I know they went out and got Devontae Adams, but we knew Cooper Kupp wasn't long for L.A. What do you think he has left, and do you think the Jags should be interested in his services?
I would have some interest at the right price, but I have my concerns. I mean, I hate the fantasy box score scouting, not to bring it back to one of your areas of expertise there, but look, he had under 30 yards in all of his last, 8 or 9 games, but 2. And that's on the Rams, a team that was playing pretty well with his buddy Matthew Stafford. I think his body, from all the blocking that he's done, and he's still a very willing blocker, and I think he can fit into his scheme. Ultimately, $20 million for him was way too much money. I mean, look, they just gave Tutu Atwell $10 million. They did not want to give that to Cooper Kupp. Now, it's a point where he's a legacy in this organization, and he no longer fits. It's going to be tough for him to be a role player. Is he going to be able to swallow that sort of role with another team? I think that's all you really want him for. And there's a lot of receivers I have ahead of him in terms of guys that I would want in free agency.
With Tennessee having the number 1 overall pick, how heavy are they going to be in on any of the free agent quarterbacks in this market?
Yeah, I think it'll be telling. I'm curious. You know, I heard Derek Carr believed he had a market out there, that he kind of had a stare down with the Saints when they asked him to take a pay cut and extend it. My guess is that guy where he thought he would land was either Tennessee or the Giants, probably Tennessee. He had worked with Callahan before. It'll be very telling to me how aggressive they go after free agent quarterbacks, but I don't think they're a Darnold fit. And so I suspect they're going to get some mid-tier guy, whether it's a Brissett or a Jimmy Garoppolo, so something not too exciting. And I still have a hard time believing they won't take Cam Ward, or at least that Cam Ward isn't going number 1 overall. We'll see if Tennessee trades out of that spot.
Yeah, it's always interesting, right? You got a quarterback-needy team willing to trade out potentially the number 1 pick when that's the one quarterback most people feel is, you know, likely to go in the top 5, if not deserving. Apparently nobody wants to play quarterback for the Giants. It's the sense that we're getting right now. How do you think they fill that spot? Are they a Shedeur Sanders team if he's there at 3, or do they go some other veteran route?
I don't think they are a Sanders team. I think, not that he would be falling, but they really wanted Stafford. They offered him a big contract. They're in on Aaron Rodgers. That still seems the most likely to me. I know there's some reports out there that say now that's less likely, but if they actually want him, I don't know if any other team is going to beat them to him. They're just looking for what they can get. It's not a good situation. They need to win this year. I think Dable was really excited to try to make it work with Stafford, and they're probably just going to settle for a guy like Rodgers.
All right, last one for you. Travis Hunter. All right, we don't know what everyone's going to do to fill needs, right? But Travis Hunter, is he off the board in the first 4 picks definitively? And if so, what is he early in his NFL career?
It depends on the team. It's interesting. When I got to the combine, there were more and more teams and more analysts that I think see him as a receiver because of his size, which is fascinating. You have a few teams, at least, that believe he's one of the better receiver prospects to come out in the last 5 years, which is crazy because many teams believe he's easily the best cornerback prospect. So I really think it depends on the team and the division. There's no way he's getting out of the top 4, Mike. I actually think there's a better chance he goes number 1 overall, then people are really throwing it out there. But there's no way he gets past the Patriots at 4, and I think he ultimately goes to Tennessee or Cleveland.
Patriots not going to get Ronnie Stanley. Got to take Will Campbell there at 4. I'm just saying there, Greg.
I mean, the Patriots are just throwing good money after bad. You're giving money to Harold Landry, and you're going to settle for some short-arm tackle. Just take the great player. That's what I say.
All right, brother. Greg Rosenthal, you can check him out over at NFL.com. He hosts NFL Daily, available wherever you listen to podcasts, and he's been with NFL.com and NFL Network for quite a while now, doing great work, and you can find him when it works on the Twitter platform at Greg Rosenthal, or X. Maybe we should call it X, and it'll work better for us. That's Greg with 3 G's, 1 in the front, 2 in the back, and that's what you got. Greg, always appreciate it, man. I know today's a busy day, so thanks for making a little time for us.
Yeah, it's always great talking to you.
Thank you, buddy. There he goes. Greg Rosenthal from NFL Media checking in with a little kind of a national overview tone. So if you are a Travis Hunter devotee for the Jacksonville Jaguars to make a move on him, Rosenthal saying, no bueno, not going to happen for you. And look,
you got to make a move to get him,
right? Or you got to make a move. He didn't think he'll get past the Patriots. Greg, by the way, came up a Patriots fan. I'm sure it's a team he follows very closely. No, I'm serious. You know what I mean? I'm sure he knows what wanted. He immediately went to the short arm tackle.
Yeah.
It's easier for us to draft him and play him at guard there with Will Campbell. But, I would at least, look, if it comes down to it, I don't know if we're going to get anybody to jump up for the 5th pick, right? I heard Hayes Carline say last week maybe Seattle's a candidate to do that. It's possible, but what are you going to be willing to give to come up and get Shedeur Sanders? I'm presuming that's who they're coming up to get in that scenario. It's going to be multiple first-round picks to move up from 18 plus next year's plus what exactly? And I'm not saying I'm opposed to it, but, there is a scenario if Sanders were to go to the Giants, and I know Rosenthal doesn't think that's the likely outcome, but some think it still might happen, Tone, that it could go Cam Ward, Abdul Carter, and then Sanders. And if that's the case, then the Patriots will see if they're able to fill in on offensive line or if they go with the unicorn that is Travis Hunter. But Greg Rosenthal certainly doesn't think he's going to be available for the Jags at 5. Not that I think that, but I don't need it to be that definitive.
Well, and it's not like the sentiment that he expressed there is not one that we've heard. Right, about Hunter specifically, with people talking about we think he might be the best corner or wide receiver prospect in this draft, comparing him to, the players at that position here over the past 4 or 5 years, like that kind of thing. None of that has been out of the realm of possibility with him. It's all in one package. The idea of that making it to 5, I've been very much on the, that's not going to happen kind of train for a while now, and every next person that we speak to is always kind of along the same lines. I think it's highly unlikely that Hunter would be available to the Jags at 5. And if he is, run it to the podium is how I feel about it, regardless of what they do over the course of the next few days in free agency. If Hunter's available, I don't care where you play him. If he's still there at 5, get it to the podium quick.
All right. Well, you know what? We got time to go before we need to worry about that.
Sure.
And so hopefully we'll start to hear some of that buzz start to percolate around noon today. Who is that player you want the Jags to reach out to first? In other words, who's your top free agent priority for the Jacksonville Jaguars? Will Fries, the guy that several people have mentioned. Greg Rosenthal brought him up as a guy that if you're going to overspend, he may be a good candidate, or at least a better investment to do that with than some of the other players that are available out there. All right, we'll take a timeout here. Tony's going to take us around the rest of the National Football League. Thanks again to Greg Rosenthal from NFL Media. You're listening to Jaguars Today on 1010XL and 92.5 FM.
Jaguars Today from the Renewal by Anderson Custom Windows and Doors Studios.
Don't answer that.
Yeah. What's your name?
This is 1010XL.
What are you?
Jacksonville Sports Radio.
Jags fans, here's your chance to score a trip to Green Bay for round 1 of draft night. Through the Everbank Draft Night Experience Sweepstakes, one lucky winner and a guest will be there live and in person to see the Jaguars make their first pick. To enter, visit everbank.com/draft by April 4th. That's everbank.com/draft. No purchase necessary to enter or win. Open to legal residents of the 50 United States and D.C. 18 and older. Entry period from 3/3/25 to 4/4/25. For official rules, prize description, odds of winning, and other details, visit everbank.com/draft. Sponsored administrator, Everbank N.A.
Struggling with ED? Now Riddle Wellness has a solution that works. You've heard of PRP treatments for joint pain relief. That same technology is now available with the P-Shot, a non-surgical treatment for ED. Using your body's natural power, the P-Shot helps restore function naturally. No pills, no downtime, just results. Schedule a free consultation at elevatejacksonville.com and learn what the P-Shot can do for you. Riddle Wellness, your health, your confidence totally restored. Visit elevatejacksonville.com.
Call 904-500-COOL. Ideal Conditions.
Need a new air conditioning system? Don't sign anything. Call Ideal Conditions Heating and Air Conditioning, your AC experts. Just ask your AC. Finance a brand new system for 60 months with 0% interest on approved credit for approved systems. Visit idealconditionsjax.com.
Call 904-500-COOL.
Honk if you see us. Call for service.
Ideal Conditions.
Idealconditionsjax.com.
Jaguars Today Monday is built by Dreamfinders Homes.
Official home builder of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
If you've been in an auto accident, you can count on the experts at San Jose Collision to return your vehicle to pre-accident conditions. San Jose Collision can also provide a fresh paint job to freshen up your vehicle or completely change its appearance. They can paint and repair all foreign and domestic cars and trucks. When quality and professionalism are important to you, trust San Jose Collision in Mandarin.
Florida homeowners, storms don't wait, so why should you? Universal Roof and Contracting protects your home and your wallet. Invest in a stronger roof and save big. Spend $6,000 and get up to $600 off. $15,000 up to $2,000 off. $20,000 up to $3,000 off. This deal ends March 31st. Call 855-ROOF-HELP for your free inspection. Universal Roof and Contracting. Protecting your home, building your trust. License number CCC 057165, CBC 1258484.
Hey, Hicken here, or just call me Dreamfinders Danny. For a limited time to ring in the new year, Dreamfinders Homes is offering an amazing 4.99% fixed interest rate. Now's your chance to lock down that rate and get in the game. You heard me right. It's 4.99 fixed interest rate on select move-in ready homes. Visit dreamfindershomes.com for sales event information and get in the game. Interest rate available on select move-in ready homes. Restrictions and limitations apply. Go to dreamfindershomes.com for more details.
Hey, gang, Prosser here. Are you ready to sell your home? I got an easy game plan. Call Chad and Sandy, the only agents I would call to sell my home. The economy is showing positive signs. It might be time to sell, and your home will get you the price you want with Chad and Sandy. It's easy to find out. Get friendly expert help from the Jacksonville agents who eat, drink, and sleep local real estate. Call agents Chad and Sandy Newman. Maybe you're worried about costly repairs or upgrades needed to sell your home. Guess what? You don't need to. No required costly repairs. Pick your move date. There are no long-term contracts, and you can cancel at any time. But it comes down to the Chad and Sandy guarantee. Your home sold at an agreed-upon price and deadline, or they will buy it. All problems have disappeared. Pete in Lakeshore says, I was in a pickle. I needed to cash out on a rental property fast. I was struggling to rent. I heard Chad and Sandy on the radio, called. I had an offer for full asking price within days. Join the local success stories by calling Chad and Sandy at 904-414-6200 or going to chadandsandy.com.
Who will win the players? Hello Windows and Doors presents the 1010XL Players You Pick'em contest. Go to 1010XL.com and pick who you think will win this year's tournament. You could win $1,000 in jewelry from Beard's Diamonds. Go to 1010XL.com today.
Hicken here for Bow 9 Associates, where you'll find Jacksonville's most esteemed eye doctors at each of their locations. After being selected for one of the most competitive ophthalmology fellowships in the world, Dr. Frank Bowden is frequently called upon for his expert opinion. He is currently one of the few cornea and external disease specialists in the area and the founder of Bow 9. Visit Bow 9 Associates today and experience the difference. Bow 9 Associates, keeping the First Coast focused.
Have you got concrete or asphalt rubble piling up? Arcosa Crushed Concrete will pay you for it and recycle it. They're just minutes from Everbank Stadium on Talleyrand. Call Arcosa Crushed Concrete and get paid for what you don't need. ArcosaCrushedConcrete.com.
Has someone you care about been arrested or had their driver's license taken away? I'm Susan Cohen, and I work with David Robbins at the law firm of Epstein & Robbins. We are experienced fighters for those charged with DUI, domestic violence, and all criminal offenses. In your battle with the justice system, there's only one thing you need to know. Dial David, 24/7 at Epstein & Robbins, 354-5645. 354-5645.
Need protection? Call Craig and Christine Kaprosky at Goosehead Insurance. The Kaproskys are a husband and wife team committed to finding you the right coverage at the right price in just a few short minutes. For home, auto, flood, or specialty insurance, Craig and Christine Kaprosky are the answer. Craig.Kaprosky at Goosehead.com.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Jaguars Today on 1010XL.
All right, here are some names to consider, Tony. Bush Drive Rich wants to go with Trey Hendrickson. That after the last game of last year, it proves that we desperately need a third pass rusher. Yes, but can you afford a $30 million plus a year pass rusher, which I'm sure is what he's going to expect to make, considering he's led the league in sacks over the last 2 years combined. I'd love to have Trey Hendrickson here. I'd love to figure out how to make it work with Trey Hendrickson. I don't know if that's the best use of resources. I mean, are you getting a really good player? Yes. Somebody else pointed out on a different thread, you paid Josh Allen a lot of money, and then that sack production got cut in half, right? So, that's certainly possible. But when you see what Max Crosby got and Myles Garrett got over their last couple of deals, resetting the market twice for the highest paid non-quarterback in the NFL. I'm not saying Trey Hendrickson's getting 40. I don't think he is, but he's going to want 30, I think for sure. And while I like him, I think he's too much of a luxury to lock him in for that kind of money long term. One guy who just came off the board, Tone, after he was let go, he redid a deal with the Chargers for 1 year, $18 million, fully guaranteed. Khalil Mack, I think, would have been a great fit for this team. Graded out crazy high against the run last year, still plays the run very well and can still get to the quarterback, and is more effective when you don't play him every down anymore. And I thought, look, is that a big number? Yes, it is. But Khalil Mack's a future Hall of Famer, and it would be a 1 year commitment to him, like the Chargers are making. I would have been all about the Jags going in that direction.
Sure. But it's no longer an option for him.
No doubt. By the way, Bush Drive Rich also mentioning Calais Campbell as an ecosystem guy. No doubt. Look, and another one here on the text line said, I'd rather sign Calais Campbell. A lot of people would like Calais Campbell. As soon as Greg Rosenthal's name, or as he brought up the name, it perked my ears up thinking, oh, yeah, Jaguar fans would love to see a return of the mayor of Saxonville, I think, anyway. All right, why don't you, Tony, take us around what's happening on a busy time in the National Football League.
Now, gems around the NFL. Brought to you by Beach's Jewelry and Pawn in Jax Beach.
The Buffalo Bills and quarterback Josh Allen have agreed to a 6-year, $330 million contract with $250 million guaranteed. Las Vegas traded the third-round pick they got from the Jets last year for wide receiver Davante Adams to Seattle for quarterback Geno Smith to kick off a busy weekend across the National Football League. Seattle is trading wide receiver DK Metcalf to Pittsburgh for a second-round pick. The Steelers are signing Metcalf to a 5-year, $150 million deal. You just mentioned Khalil Mack going back to the Chargers, 1 year, $18 million, fully guaranteed. Defensive end Myles Garrett in Cleveland have agreed to a 4-year extension worth $40 million a year with $123 million in new guaranteed money, making him the highest-paid non-quarterback in the league after Max Crosby held that designation for just about a week. Davante Adams is landing with the LA Rams on a 2-year, $46 million deal with $26 million guaranteed. Carolina has agreed to a 4-year, $100 million deal with cornerback J.C. Horn with $70 million guaranteed. Baltimore, a 3-year, $60 million extension with left tackle Ronnie Stanley over the weekend.
That's good money invested right there.
Atlanta has gotten a 2-year, $45 million extension done with left tackle Jake Matthews. New England is signing edge rusher Harold Landry to a 3-year, $43.5 million deal, $26 million guaranteed in that deal. Minnesota is bringing back running back Aaron Jones on a 2-year, $20 million deal. Kansas City and linebacker Nick Bolton have agreed to a 3-year, $45 million deal with $30 million guaranteed. The Chiefs are also bringing back wide receiver Marquise Hollywood Brown on a 1-year, $11 million deal. Denver has agreed to a 3-year, $39 million deal with defensive tackle DJ Jones. Arizona and linebacker Baron Browning, 2 years, $15 million. Tampa is bringing back linebacker Levante David, 1 year, $10 million. Seattle is bringing defensive tackle Jarn Reed on a 3-year deal worth up to $25 million. Cincinnati is bringing back tight end Mike Gesicki on a 3-year, $25.5 million deal. Cincinnati has also signed their own offensive lineman Cody Ford to a 2-year extension. Washington has re-signed tight end Zach Ertz, 1 year, $6.25 million. Detroit is bringing back edge rusher Marcus Davenport on a 1-year deal worth $4.75 million. Detroit also releasing defensive end Zadarius Smith. Buffalo is releasing edge rusher Von Miller, though reports indicate that both sides are open to him returning there with the Bills. Buffalo did re-sign edge rusher Greg Rousseau over the weekend to a 4-year, $80 million deal with $54 million guaranteed. Las Vegas has re-signed defensive tackle Adam Butler on a 3-year, $16.5 million deal. New England is trading defensive tackle Devon Gottschall to New Orleans for a 7th-round pick next year. Kansas City guard Trey Smith has signed his franchise tag. San Francisco is releasing defensive tackle Malik Collins. Atlanta is releasing defensive tackle Grady Jarrett. And Kansas City wide receiver Xavier Worthy was arrested following a domestic dispute this weekend, but the Williamson County District Attorney said that after speaking with multiple witnesses, that his office will not be accepting the case or pressing charges at this time.
Yeah, that was a quick turnaround right there on Xavier Worthy, and it is shows you why you should always pump the brakes before assuming everything is exactly as it seems when you first hear about something. Aaron Jones is an interesting deal. Last year signed 1 year, $7 million. Yep. He's a year older. He got 2 years, 20, with $11 million guaranteed at signing. So even if it turns into a 1-year deal, he's going to get $11 million for that 1 year. So, hey, good for him.
Good for him.
All right. Got an interesting question posed to us here on the text line that we'll get into. We got to take a break here in our final segment. And we'll go around with some of the responses we got today. We're asking which player or really their agent should be contacted first by the Jacksonville Jaguars. In other words, who's the top target on your priority list that you want to make sure you get first word in, at least put your best foot forward? And granted, a lot of this groundwork has probably already been done at the NFL Scouting Combine, but nevertheless, ceremonially, who would you like to see that first call made to when tampering opens up? If you can call it that. Is it tampering if it's allowable? I don't know. We get into this every year.
They call it tampering.
30 minutes from now, they can tamper to their heart's content.
Big arm.
There you go. Well, it officially will have begun, Hacker, in 29 minutes from now, as a matter of fact. All right, we'll come back. More Jaguars Today straight ahead on 1010XL 92.5 FM. Hey, folks, Mike Dempsey here for Awaken 180 Weight Loss, now with over 24,000 satisfied clients, over 10 years in the business at the top of the weight loss industry. Their founder, Paige, developed a long-term solution for weight loss over a decade ago, and it can work for anyone. And along the way, it cuts through the misconceptions of lose weight, quick gadgets, fad diets, medications, none of that necessary to lose weight the proper way with Awaken 180. You eat to lose weight. Learn how to turn your body into a fat-burning machine. What you eat, when you eat, how frequently you eat. It's all going to get your metabolism raging in the right direction and help you drop those pounds quickly. Set a goal weight. Awaken 180 Weight Loss will help you achieve that goal weight in very rapid time. And once you get there, follow along with Awaken 180's instruction for life. It's absolutely free. Free coaching and support for life once you hit your goal weight with Awaken 180. Why don't you become the next satisfied client? Go to awaken180weightloss.com and schedule a free consultation today. That's Awaken 180 Weight Loss.
Jaguars Today from the Renewal by Anderson Custom Windows and Doors Studios of 1010XL. From the preseason to the playoffs and every day in between.
Each man individually preparing himself to be the best he could possibly be. Better than he's ever been. Because that's what it's going to take.
At 1010XL, the season never ends.
Don't miss the Players' Championship, March 11th through 16th at TPC Sawgrass. This can't-miss event features a variety of activities for every fan to enjoy, from delicious bites to the Sawgrass Splash. There are endless fan enhancements that will make for a memorable experience. Plus, watch the top PGA Tour players, including back-to-back champion Scottie Scheffler, take on the iconic stadium course featuring the famous Island Green. Tickets available at theplayers.com.
Are you ready
ready to reclaim your backyard? Serving Northeast Florida since 1977, Surfside Pools is the trusted name for expert pool design. Family owned and operated, they offer pool service, equipment repairs, commercial maintenance, remodels, and new pool construction. Let Surfside Pools transform your backyard into the oasis that you crave. Are you ready to float happy? Visit surfsidepools.net or call 246-2666. Surfside Pools and Spas, where luxury meets leisure.
License number CPC 044080.
Transmission troubles? I'm Robin Sidbury, owner of Action Transmission Specialist on Merrill Road. So come in and see how we can help solve your transmission troubles. We service all makes and models. Remember, get traction. Call Action at 744-0755.
Dreamfinders Homes Monday on Jaguars Today.
Home is where your story begins. And at Donovan Air Electric and Plumbing, we're here to make it the healthiest, most comfortable place it could be. Whether it's fresh, clean air, dependable plumbing, or reliable power, we take care of it all. From routine maintenance to state-of-the-art solutions, Donovan keeps your home running smoothly. Because at Donovan, we believe your home isn't just where you live, it's where your health meets comfort. Call Donovan Air Electric and Plumbing at 904-270-COOL or visit us online. Let's make your home healthier, safer, and better together.
With so many competitive pest services in town, you might wonder why Kingfish Pest Control's business is booming while similar companies seem to be struggling. It all comes down to service, affordability, and effectiveness. Kingfish Pest Control is a local family-owned company who delivers on their promises to effectively control pests like ants, spiders, roaches, termites, mosquitoes, and more. Your home is their priority, so call today and discover why your neighbors and your buddy Hayes Carlion trust Kingfish Pest Control, proud partner of the Jaguars.
Hey everybody, it's Mike Dempsey, and I only like to recommend the best, which is why I'm proud to say that I chose Pella Windows and Doors for my own home. And now's a great time to upgrade your home with 0% financing for 60 months. That's 5 years of interest-free payments on the best windows and doors in the business. Don't wait. Schedule a free consultation at PellaJacks.com or visit their showroom on Phillips Highway just north of Bay Meadows. For quality you can trust and savings you can't miss, that's Pella Windows and Doors.
If fishing is in your DNA, hop in the boat with Captain Kevin. It's the Ring Power Fishing Forecast Show, brought to you by Awaken 180 Weight Loss and Royal Pest Services.
Thursday nights at 6
on 1010XL AM.
Okay, sports fans, Hicken here. Let's talk skin. I and Beaches Dermatology are reminding you all to wear your sunscreen. Spring is here, and that means more time outside. Grabbing the clubs for your tea time? Bring the screen. Heading out on the boat? Bring the screen. Headed to the beach? Definitely bring the sunscreen. All in all, make sure sunscreen is included in your outdoor activities. If you have any concerns now, give Beaches Dermatology a call. I've been seeing them for years, and my skin thanks me for it. Call today online at beachesdermatology.com.
What's that sound? That's the sound of Downy Unstoppable scent beads going into your washing machine and giving your clothes freshness that lasts all day long. There it is again. It's like music to your ears, or more like music to your nose. That freshness is irresistible. Let's get a Downy Unstoppable bottle shake. And now a sniff solo. Nice. With Downy Unstoppable, you just toss, wash, wow, for all-day freshness.
Baseball is back. Don't miss this year's Florida State baseball game, Tuesday, March 25th at VyStar Ballpark at 6 p.m. This can't-miss event sells out quickly, so buy your tickets today to get the best seats possible. It's Florida State on the diamond at VyStar Ballpark, Tuesday, March 25th. Get your tickets at TaxSlayerGatorBowl.com. TaxSlayerGatorBowl.com. We'll see you at the ballpark.
Gun charges, drug charges. I'm Attorney Malcolm Anthony, and I specialize in handling these types of felony cases. Stay out of trouble. But if you don't, call me at 285-4LAW. That's 285-4LAW.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville.
Now the cool down with Donovan Air Electric and Plumbing, keeping Jack's cool since '87.
All right, Dylan suggested if Twitter is still running amok today, Tone, because big day for NFL fans, want to keep refreshing and finding out what they're saying about your team and who you're connected with, that we should go old school and go the newspaper route. I presumed everybody already went with the Florida Times Union, right? So you could always go to Jacksonville.com. You can go to 1010XL.com. I guarantee you our social media channels are going to be percolating all day long. The ladies of Helmets and Heels are going to be out at Sawgrass Country Club today. They'll be keeping an eye on everything that's happening. Tony, before I get through some of the names that were submitted for our question today, where we asked, who's the top of your priority list, basically, that one person. Yeah. Tomorrow, by the way, we'll do a top 5. It's either going to be top 5 guys you think they'll sign or you'd like them to sign. It's going to be something free agency related, obviously. We'll post that later on today. But here's a question we got on the text line designed by Lifetime Enclosures. Has there ever been a team that let a player go in free agency and realize they made a mistake and signed him back? Evan Ingram made me think of that. Well, there are teams like we just mentioned. The Chargers released Khalil Mack and then signed him back to a deal that some of that happens. But I think the point of this is a guy you intend on not bringing back.
Right.
And then realizing, oh, wait a minute. I would say this. It would concern me a lot more if the Jaguars did that than the fact that they released Evan Ingram. If they released Evan Ingram and then over the next 48 hours had a change of heart, like I would wonder, after all the weeks you had to consider this move, what were you doing if you could change your mind 180 that quickly? So I don't think there's any chance the Jags are going to go. My guess is if they wanted Evan Ingram to be a part of it and they felt like they could make it fit with him, they probably approached him about a renegotiated deal at a price point that makes sense for them. If he doesn't like that price point and he's going to have a market in free agency, you're not going to get him back for what you want to pay him. That was my suspicion. I think it's very possible they didn't ask him to renegotiate. They just don't think that that kind of, quote, move tight end, they want more the two-way player, the guy who's rugged and it doesn't tip your hand when he's on the field. You're just as likely to run the ball as you are to throw the ball when you've got that two-way tight end on the field. And this feeling is that they don't think that Evan Ingram fits that. He's not a great blocker. He may be a willing blocker, but he's not going to be confused with Chris Manhertz anytime soon.
Right. Like that's the word that Logs would use with us every time that he talked about it, right?
Willing?
He's willing.
Right.
Like he puts his nose in there. He doesn't just pass the contact ever. You ask him to do that kind of thing, he tries. Whatever effort he's got capable in his body, he puts it forth. When you ask him to do that kind of stuff, he's just not built to do it. The way that a Brenton Strange is built to do it. So it's probably not the best use of Evan Ingram, but he doesn't necessarily have to be a complete tell because he was willing to do the job of a blocking tight end. You just don't want him doing it all that much because he's so good. As a receiving option, you don't expose him as much as you do a George Kittle. It's
and Kittle's built a little different too, and his mentality is a little different as well.
He's a plus blocker, and also a plus receiver. There's not many of them ever. Like Kelsey is a willing blocker, but you don't want him doing that all the time. He gives you too much as a receiver. You just don't expose him to that side of it a bunch because you don't need him taking those extra hits. Those kind of things. And Ingram, he's the prime example of that kind of thing in the league. He is a move tight end. He's built like a move tight end. He moves like a move tight end. He's a little wide receiver, big tight end, whatever. Like he is that guy. You don't want to expose him to that kind of contact all the time. So you don't. But it also is more of a tell when he's on the field than when Brenton Strange is going to be on the field. For sure.
Oh, absolutely. In my opinion. I mean, look, I think all these things were factored in. So, no, to the point of the question, I don't think it's a bad one. I'm sure that there may have been an occasion somewhere along the line where a team thought they were going to be able to fill it some other way and then circled back and gave that guy a multi-year contract extension as opposed to we're cutting you because this is not the price we're going to pay you and we quickly bring you back like they did with Khalil Mack with the L.A. Chargers. Yeah. This one from Rick and Duval. Tough question on the first call. He goes, I guess Mekhi Becton would be one, Godwin 1A. We have needs all over the place. We keep talking about surrounding Trevor Lawrence with playmakers. The circle goes around, but if we cannot protect him, well, you guys get it. So the debate between O-line and playmakers is real. I don't think it doesn't have to be a debate between the two. We need them both.
Yeah.
Right? We need them both. You got to be able to protect. And if you can't protect, then it doesn't matter how many playmakers you have. But if you can protect, and you've got guys that can't get open. You know what I mean? Like you can't just say, as long as we've got this great O-line, we're going to be fine, right? Look, Detroit had a great O-line. They had a wonderful plethora of skill position players. And they still didn't get to where they needed to be or where they wanted to be. At least they didn't even get to the championship game in the NFC. So there's no guarantee. But I don't think anybody is saying we got to go O-line to the exclusion of getting another pass catcher or two on this football team. And I don't think anybody's saying pour all the money into big-time free agent wide receiver like Chris Godwin, go draft Ted McMillan and do this, and we'll piece together the offensive line. I think people are savvy enough. They realize you got to do multiple things in one offseason. It's not all one thing or the other. No doubt.
It's the who do you want the first call to be, and those kind of discussions at least have to be a part of the whatever mental game you're playing today about what you would like to see the Jaguars do here in 15 minutes when it opens up, right? Like the first person they call, who do you want it to be? And it doesn't mean that they're not going to call someone that's not playing another position. They obviously will. It's who do you want the first call to be? It's not going to be the only call they make. The first of the 50 calls that they make at some point in this free agency period, who would you like that to be at noon today?
Some of them include Will Fries, the guard, Mekhi Becton, another guard target here. I'm just going through some of the responses. We got Carlton Davis, Javon Holland. I think safety is going to be really interesting because I think there are some good ones out there. Javon Holland seems to be the cream of the crop, but you're also going to have to pay cream of the crop prices and probably a free agency, tax on top of that, right? A premium, thank you, is the word I'm looking for. Again, we mentioned Trey Hendrickson earlier. Somebody said we should be calling about seeing if we can trade for that guy. Drew Dahlman, center, if you're unable to get that done. Mekhi Becton. Again, the Dahlman thing, he may be the best center, but is he a fit for the Cohen offense and where they want to run it? Possibly not. It feels like there are, I'd love to find a center in free agency that they at least feel like they can go into the season if necessary and have to play that
even
guy.
If it's just replacing it for a year. That's all you were going to have Mitch Morse. I'm
right. And that gave me some level of comfort that, okay, if we do draft, let's say they draft Gray Zabel with pick 36, right? And with the intention of moving him to center, well, that can be a process. Small school guy come in changing positions. That's a lot in one season in his rookie year to be able to rely on that guy for, and you don't have that safety net at this point. Let's see, more Godwin, Jair Alexander, in terms of a trade situation. At least that's where that is right now. Haven't heard anything on that front for a while, but I think I imagine by late afternoon, we're going to hear about the Jags agreeing to terms with at least a couple of free agents. Will they both be top-of-the-line guys? Top of the line for this class. You know what I'm saying? Or will they be walk-in starters? I presume the first few guys you go after are that type of guy. You want to say, I can fill this hole, and then we'll see where it settles or whatever the case may be. And I'm sure they have a list of kind of middle-class options, so to speak. Just guys that are not going to be the top dollar guys, and they're maybe not your top priority, and they are more of the stopgap fill-in for a year, and that's part of the process of the National Football League.
No doubt.
Not everybody's a 26-year-old free agent ready to break the bank that you want at least mentally to lock in for the next 5 years and see how that whole situation goes. So I make the call. You make the call on offensive line, all right, on whomever their top guard target is. I'm going to call Chris Godwin because I want to get that at least. And I say call Chris Godwin. They may have already know whether Chris Godwin's interested or not, but it's more representative of I got to find out, is Jacksonville a serious contender for your services, or are you just going to chase the top dollar, whatever the case? Because I need to move on. $60 million is a lot of cap space, but contracts are complicated as well, and I want to know how much I've got to work with. So, it's as much about finding out if I'm in the mix for a guy like that as it is just trying to strike and get somebody signed on the dotted line.
And I do think the Dahlman conversation that we've had, talking to Prisco last week about it, and does he fit, like that kind of thing, I think the idea of if you have an interior offensive lineman that you think fits what you want to do perfectly, that being the first call you make makes a lot of sense to me. Like whoever that is, I don't know how to differentiate between all these guys as to what exactly that's going to look like, but I assume the guys that they bring in at those kind of positions are guys that they feel like fit it, right? And so the first call being made to that kind of thing, given how big of a need it's going to be for the football team, whether that be at center or guard, wherever it is, right? I think it makes a lot of sense for that to be the first place they fish.
All right. We will be out at the Players for the next 4 days, and obviously following along with all the proceedings with the Jaguars and bringing you coverage of free agency all week long. But the ladies in helmets and heels are getting an early start. They're at the Sawgrass Country Club today, so let's check in.
Now, the 2-minute drill. Serviced by Cool Cats Heating and Cooling. Locally owned and operated. We're your neighbors. Find the coolest cats in town at coolcatsjacks.com.
All right, Lauren Brooks is back, tan rested and ready from her vacation. At least I presume you're rested and ready. But how are you?
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm great. Thanks. Go on vacation. At the beginning of the week, I was like, this is the perfect week to take vacation. Nothing's going on. And then, of course, live in Puerto Rico, found out about Christian Kirk and Evan Ingram and all the fun stuff that went on last week. But as you know, Mike, the NFL never sleeps.
No, it doesn't. And so it marches on today. The quote-unquote legal tampering window opens up in 11 minutes. Lauren, and this isn't necessarily literal because a lot of the conversations have already taken place, but who should be the focus, the top priority, the single name that the Jaguars go after immediately?
Yeah, I'm with you. I love Chris Godwin. I don't know that Cooper Kupp is necessarily an upgrade over what you've had here, but Chris Godwin certainly would be fantastic to pair alongside Brian Thomas Jr. So I'd love that as a wide receiver tandem here in Jacksonville. So I agree with your take that it would be Chris Godwin, especially because of the familiarity with Liam Cohen.
Right. Look, I'd have no problem with Cooper Kupp being here. I don't want to pay him a ton of money. And I'd rather have Godwin because we know he's a fit as well in Liam Cohen's system, and he's several years younger. You got to feel good about the medical reports, obviously, coming out of that. But that's their concern, not mine. I just want to see him splash the cash around, Lauren, because that's how I am.
Absolutely. We need some moves around here. And by the way, wouldn't the Bucs fans and maybe even the GM as well be so unhappy if the Jags ended up with Chris Godwin?
Oh, no, it'd be, we never wanted him anyway. We don't want that guy. He's, walking injury, whatever the case may be. So, look, you got to trust Liam Cohen's insight as to whether they pursue or not pursue Chris Godwin heavily. Anyway, what else is coming up today?
Yeah, by the way, I would have wanted Mike Evans if they hadn't,
I would like
signed
him
a year ago. But that's just a wish list thing. But yeah, we are live here at Sawgrass Country Club, like you said, and it's the third and final round of the Haight Classic. That is the UNF men's golf tournament. And as we woke up today, it was pouring down rain, but of course now the sun has come out. It's absolutely gorgeous, low 70s here, and going to talk a lot of golf.
Just got to wait that rain out. That's what Dylan and I did yesterday. We just drove under a tree for about 20 minutes. And Perfect. It was all fine. LB, have a great show. Welcome back. Look forward to seeing you out there at the TPC all week.
Yes, excited to see you out there tomorrow, and thanks so much.
All right, Helmets and Heels coming your way next with Lauren, Mia, and Taylor on the way. We appreciate Greg Rosenthal for stopping by today from NFL Media. Give us a little overview of the national picture of free agency. And good luck to Liam Cohen, James Gladstone, Tony Baselli, and company in making their wish list come true and getting the right guys in here. And again, it's all another step in the process. Oh my gosh, they let go of Evan Ingram. They don't know what they're doing. Well, we haven't seen free agency. We haven't seen the NFL draft. We haven't seen post free agency, post draft free agency. A lot of things that can still happen along the way for the Jacksonville Jaguars. So let's not get locked into too many narratives too early. For Tony Smith and Dylan Denmark, I'm Mike Dempsey. Thank you for listening to Jaguars Today. Helmets and Heels is next on 1010XL and